Okay, how's it going, guys? I'm here with legendary friend of mine, Virgil, from Virgil and the Accelerators.
Hey Sam.
How's it going, man?
Very good, brother. Thanks for coming.
Me and Virgil have been mates for quite a long time. And actually, funny story, before we sort of get into guitar talk, we're in Catsall here, which is a really small village. And I grew up in Catsall, and Virgil lives in Catsall.
That's right.
And when I first met Virgil back in 2010, I was chatting to him, and I was saying to him, so whereabouts are you from? And he said Bromsgrove. And it was just a really surreal moment. And then we realised even closer that we're both in Catsall,
right.
which is a really small little village. But anyway, I thought I'd make a little video because Virgil is one of my favourite players.
Oh, likewise.
We've been jamming for a couple of years, you know, and I've learnt a few things from Virgil over the years.
Likewise,
and
man.
It's
Taught
just
me a lot.
Oh, thanks, man. Great guy. And I just want to sort of get a few things on camera, you know, talking about guitar and you know, influences and all of that. So my first question is, what first inspired you to play guitar?
My dad.
Your dad?
My dad made it look really cool.
Yeah.
He was a guitar player, and he had a band when I was a little kid. They were called Moondog Matinee, and they you know, played all kinds of Stones covers and ZZ Top covers and Stevie Ray Vaughan. But it was really my dad's like love of the guitar and how passionate he was about it anyway.
Because he's a great player and a great collector as well.
Absolutely.
He's got a lot of stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a lot of cool stuff, and which some of it I've inherited, which has also been really cool.
So I guess you were quite small when you really got a love for guitar music.
Yeah, I was about 4.
Wow.
And one afternoon my dad like sat me down in front of the TV and put on this VHS cassette tape of Stevie Ray Vaughan at the El Macando.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind.
I know that DVD
there
well.
Yeah, and I sat there and I watched it the whole way through. And when he got to Texas Flood and he's halfway through this gargantuan guitar solo, he spins around with his guitar behind his back, and my mind was just blown. I was like, that is what I want to do.
It's that unbelievable when he does that, and he gets the strap back on and everything.
It doesn't like miss time at all. It's so perfect.
One of my favourite clips of Stevie Ray Vaughan is at the Austin City Limits.
Oh yeah.
And he's playing Look at Little Sister, and he does a guitar change during the stops.
That's right. That's right.
The string.
That's right. Yeah.
Massive player, you know, and something. I mean, there's so much Stevie Ray Vaughan in your playing, you know.
There is a lot.
What I love is the vibrato, and that's something I've really pinched from Virgil after watching him playing, was the sort of Clapton SRV style vibrato where you grab onto a note and you sort of use your arm more than anything. I love that.
That's right. You just kind of shake the shit out of it.
Shake the shit out of it, totally.
Absolutely.
And something else that you do from him, which I love, is sort of the fast, coolly stuff during solos.
Yeah.
You know, the really rhythmic thing.
Yeah. It's, Stevie taught me a lot, and it was very accessible to a certain degree when I was a young boy growing up and learning to play guitar, and because when I was about 6 and I was trying to figure out stuff, Stevie Ray Vaughan was a little too advanced for me at that point, and my dad brought home this Ventures record, and I heard the song Pipeline, and I was like, okay, I can like try and figure out what key it's in and then try and go from there. And so I worked this little riff out all up and down one string, which I was, you know, very impressed by.
Totally cool.
And so that kind of, you know, gave me a certain grasp of how to listen to something and then try and replicate it.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Stevie Ray Vaughan and then, you know, tried learning a lick here and there and incorporating it, and then eventually just like playing along to the song note for note.
For sure. And
Stevie really just, more so than anybody really, has just influenced me beyond words.
Yeah.
You know, and like yourself too.
Totally.
You know, you know.
The whole package, original. You know?
He was, and I love it. I'm a blues lover, and
you
know, for me, Stevie was the saviour of blues guitar in that sense. You know?
I think we sort of share quite a lot of influences, don't we? Like,
absolutely.
As well, Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah,
that's
big influence.
One of my favourite guys. One of your favourite guys.
Absolutely.
And Eric Johnson, of course.
Oh, monster player, man.
And you've got those wicked pentatonics.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of that good stuff.
Paul Gilbert.
Paul Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a huge favourite of mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And You know, there's just the list is kind of endless, really.
Yeah,
you know.
Walter Trout, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Oh, you can't forget Hendrix, man.
And in fact, I think out of anyone out these days, you've got more of the Hendrix mojo than anyone I know, and that's special, man.
Well, you're very sweet to say
Love
so,
it.
man. Thank you. But you know, Jimmy as well as Stevie, when I saw the both of them around the same time.
Yeah.
And Hendrix to me was just like on another level.
He was, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because he sort of changed everything. You know?
He did, absolutely. I mean, who else was playing guitar like that?
Yeah, unbelievable.
And it was just wild. And seeing that as a little kid, it was like a whole other experience. I mean, all the kids that I was in school with at the time, I think they were like listening to Ricky Martin.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, totally, yeah.
you know, whoever else. And
that's funny when you're at school, isn't it? And everyone else is listening to the Spice Girls and whatever.
yeah.
And then you've got the Hendrix records and the Clapton records
Yeah,
and all of that good
exactly.
stuff, you know.
I kind of alienated myself in a sense, whereas when I went into like high school
Yeah.
and whatnot, I wasn't going to speak to anybody who didn't know who Stevie Ray was
Totally.
or didn't
Yeah,
know who
totally.
Hendrix was, you know what I mean?
I was quite late starting guitar, and it was actually in high school. I think I was about 16 years old when I started actually, and everything else stopped for me. I didn't care about school, as bad as it is to say. You know, I just wanted to play guitar all the time.
Man.
That was a special time, you know.
No, absolutely. Likewise, in school I try to do as little as possible and play as much guitar as possible,
Totally.
you know.
Yeah, totally.
So, but you know, what more can you say about the guitar other than it's just such a great release?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know.
Something else that I want to talk about, because it's something you do effortlessly, is you can switch between playing Strat and playing Les Paul, you know, the scale lengths and everything. For me, like, I was big on the Les Paul a couple of years ago, and now I'm playing predominantly Strat style guitars, and when I go back over to a Les Paul, I find it really hard to bend in tune.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can sort of give advice on for changing scale length?
Well, I mean, every day, you know, we're in here and we're rehearsing, and I've got this, you know, the rack of guitars here, and so I'm going between Les Pauls and Strats and 335s and Firebirds, and the Les Paul, you kind of have to prepare yourself because it's kind of unforgiving in a sense.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Whereas a Strats, you know, you can bond with it a bit easier.
Yeah, yeah.
But a Les Paul takes some getting used to. But I find that if you've got both guitars, go back and forth between them as much as you can, you know, so you know them inside out, how
Yeah.
they feel and how they work, because each is a different entity, you know.
Do you use different size strings on a Les Paul that you might use a different gauge on a Strat?
The Les Paul, I kind of use a similar gauge to what I use on a Strat, which is, you know, kind of a light top, 10, a 13 and a 15.
Right.
On the Les Pauls, and then on a Strat I might use like an 11, a 15 and a, you know, 18 or a 19.
Yeah.
Just for the heavier, you know, kind of E, B and G strings, you know. But generally the bass strings are all the same.
Yeah.
Because I use a 52 and a 42 and a 36 for the E, A and D.
Just to keep it beefy.
And I find the 52 is really gives a great beefy tone without having to go to something a little heavier like a 12 gauge set or something.
Yeah, right.
And it doesn't stretch your neck out too much because I used
yeah.
12s at one point in my guitar.
I remember that was probably when we first started jamming
right.
back in 2010.
That's right.
You had, you know, man-sized strings on.
They were, it was fence wire on that, you know.
Yeah.
And I found that I could play easier and in more comfort with lighter gauge strings,
Right, yeah.
but with a heavier top.
Yeah.
Still keeping that beefy
You
sound.
can retain that for rhythm sounds.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
be big that way.
Absolutely.
What's your sort of, have you got any go-tos? Have you got like a favourite guitar out of all of these?
Probably my go-to Strat always would be this.
Oh yeah.
Which is it's a custom shop Strat originally, based on a 1962 Strat.
Right.
It's got a Brazilian rosewood fretboard.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
And it's got, I had it refretted with jumbo frets.
Yeah.
And this is a great overall Strat because it's got so many different kinds of tones in it.
Yeah.
And when I bought it, it was mint condition. It was absolutely pristine.
And you've gigged it hard, obviously.
And it's been played a lot, and it goes everywhere with me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. and this is really my go-to Strat. It's reliable, it stays in tune.
And the big frets are
Yeah.
fantastic on a Strat, aren't they?
Yeah, and you just got so much dig on it. I like
Yeah.
it quite, relatively high action.
Yeah.
And it just allows so much more dig into that, and you can really hold the note.
Yeah. So I think you'll agree with me. I think the most important part of soloing is bending and vibrato.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's sort of your fingerprint as a guitar player.
Yeah.
You know, and it's how you can recognise Jimi Hendrix.
Precisely, it's all
or
that
Stevie
important
Ray Vaughan.
phrasing.
Yeah.
And
So that's important.
Yeah.
Big frets, making that easier.
And the cool thing with the Strat is you can replicate those guys so well through it.
Totally.
And it's also a very versatile instrument.
And you got the speed knob on there.
Yeah.
Is that for the violin swells?
Well,
Makes
this
it
is
easier?
I had a straight Strat knob on there to begin with, and I was using volume swells to play with, and the problem is my hands sweat really like I've got something wrong with me.
Oh, me too, man.
And it becomes annoying after a while because you're trying to do this and your fingers slipping off.
Yeah.
And my guitar tech Scoot is a huge Dimebag Darrell fan.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's got these Dimebag Dean Razorbacks and the ML.
And they've got similar knobs to that, haven't they?
Yeah, so he brought this ML, the Dean ML, over, and he said, well, why don't you try it? So I pulled it out, and it's a great big weird looking thing. But I saw that it had the speed knob with holes that had been burnt into it.
To give you extra grip.
So so I read up on the Dimebag thing, and it said that in order to do his volume swells and whatnot, he took a soldering iron and a speed knob and just cut some holes. So I practically did the same and got it from Dimebag, but it's a lot easier to use because it's slightly bigger, so you've got more grip, and of course the overlap of the melted plastic really does help the grip.
I think that's one of my favourite things about your soloing style, actually, is the violin swells you do.
Oh, thank you.
And you've got a phenomenal speed when you do them. It looks effortless.
It's like hours of practice. I first saw Joe Bonamassa doing it.
Is that sort of your big violining influence, Joe Bonamassa?
Yeah, because he was the first dude I'd heard or seen do it. I mean, I heard Van Halen do it, but in a different kind of style.
Yeah. And he does it on a Les Paul, man. It requires a large pinky, doesn't it?
I think he's got some massive hands on him.
He must do, yeah.
Do a big, stretch.
You've met him a couple of times, haven't you, Joe?
Yeah, lovely guy. Really, really lovely guy. And he was.
Did he give you a few of his pedals?
Well, he gave me this Carl Martin chorus, and it's really good. He said that he didn't use it much, but he had used it, but didn't use it much. And he said,
generous.
Yeah,
really nice
he
thing,
said, well, would you like it? Because I'm not doing anything with it, and we're getting rid of some gear.
What a guy.
Yeah, and I was actually in, that was in Amsterdam at the Le Carré Theatre in 2010.
Right.
We were with Joanne Shaw-Taylor, and I think he gave Joanne a pedal board with a bunch of patch leads in there and some other delay pedals. But yeah, he very kindly gave me that.
Yeah, wicked, dude.
And it's been on my board ever since.
Yeah, I love it. What's your favourite Les Paul out of these? We've got the favourite Strat.
The favourite Strat, yeah, it's always a winner that. My favourite Les Paul are probably the one I tour with most, and it is very reliable.
Yeah,
is this? It's a 2007
and that one's
Les
all over
Paul
YouTube
standard,
with all the stuff,
And it's a faded top matte finish.
It reminds me a lot of the Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah. Well, I get asked a lot after the gig, is that a Slash Les Paul that you're playing? And I would love to own a Slash Les Paul, but I didn't have the money to afford one, and this was the closest thing I could find at the time. And it's been my go-to Les Paul really ever since.
And it's got the old wraparound trick.
Yeah,
Billy Gibbons.
I took it into B setup because the strings the G and D weren't staying in tune at all.
Yeah.
So the guy set it up for me, and it came back with the strings wrapped up.
Takes a little less friction, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes the strings feel a little lighter.
Yeah, and it kind of gives a more woody tone to the guitar.
And that way as well, you can crank that tailpiece right down.
Absolutely.
Which gives you better sustain and everything.
Yeah, it's most certainly. I mean, we screwed it right down, into the guitar.
Yeah.
And it plays like a dream. It stays in tune. It's very loud, but it's chambered.
Ah, right.
You can hear that. and the differences in the wood. So I'm a bit of a geek. Like at night, I'll restring my guitars,
Yep.
take all the strings off, and then I'll tap the fretboards and listen to the different, sounds of the wood.
Yeah.
Just because they all sound so different. But really, this is it's a great Les Paul.
That's the go-to.
Yeah, it's very, very reliable.
I love the look when you take the treble ribbon thing off.
Yeah.
Because we know which way is which.
Absolutely.
We don't need that on anymore.
I mean, I cracked it actually.
Did you?
And because I tried to straighten the knob out because it was pointing down at an angle.
Yeah.
So I cracked it, putting it back on.
Yeah.
And
Leave it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought, no, I sod it.
One of my favourite Zakk Wylde clips is on a gold top, and he's done that exact same thing.
Oh, really?
And he's got white EMGs, and it just looks
nice.
so unique.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
it, man.
He's a great player.
One of my favourites. You know,
great
pentatonics.
tone as well.
Totally.
Very, 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 very monstrous player there
Yeah.
in Zakk Wylde.
One of the greats for sure.
But the other one I use a lot is this Joe Bonamassa signature,
Ah, yes.
which was the first edition of
Lovely.
the gold tops.
Yeah, lovely.
The relic job.
The mismatched knobs.
Yeah.
Love it.
I believe it's a Tom Murphy job.
And you were saddles on this one, yes?
What makes this guitar sound special, aside from the pickups it has in it, are these 3 nylon saddles that it has, which kind of give a really kind of flat tone to it.
Yeah.
But through an amp, it's very big. So I think that was a really cool idea that he had there.
I love how it's seen some action as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I take it on the road with me all the time. And what I love about this guitar most is the great big neck on it.
Yeah.
Because
that makes a difference, doesn't it?
It's a monster, and it's got jumbo frets on it too.
Yeah, got to have them.
And this one's got a relatively low action, it's got quite a fast neck on it.
Yeah.
Due to that.
Awesome, man.
But it's really good, reliable, stays in tune, nice weight to it.
Yeah, yeah. You know you've got it on.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, I'll show you this one, which is a bit of a beast.
Ah, with the Bixby, I remember that one. Yeah.
This is, I mean, have a feel of that.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?
That's super heavy.
Bloody hell. I love how you've got that sanded down on the back as well.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, my dad got this guitar when I was a kid.
Yeah.
His brother actually went out and bought 2 black Les Pauls for himself and my dad. And so my dad played it a lot, and he put the Bigsby on there.
Perfect.
When I was a kid. But the problem is the finish on the back of the neck was quite thick, so when your hand
Yeah,
swept,
and
it sticks.
it's yeah.
So one day I found myself sitting in a barn in West Wales in the middle of nowhere with sandpaper and a Les Paul.
Yeah.
I was about halfway through when I thought, what am I doing to this Les Paul? But it plays great ever since.
Well, it does make a difference. My Charvel that I use most of the time, it's got a real satin finish.
Yeah.
And when you're on stage sweating with lights on you, it makes a difference, man.
Oh, it does, certainly.
Yeah, for sure.
It really does.
Wicked. My last thing that I want to say is, have you got any advice for the young guitar player?
Advice for the young guitar player, I'd say just practice, 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 practice. And if you're absolutely 100,000,000,000% true to it, your dedication and persistence will pay off.
It will come through in the end.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we both know this, so.
That's it, isn't it? You persevere, and things happen in the end.
They absolutely they do. So to any young guitar players watching this, and just dedicate yourself to it. Live it, breathe it, dream it, do it.
Rock and roll. There
Absolutely.
it is. Virgil's got a really busy European tour schedule. You can check out dates of that. Is it Virgil and the Accelerators.com?
That's
Is that
right. Yeah.
And he's got an album out, and he's also got a DVD out at the Marshall Factory, which is super cool. Check it out, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's about all. So,
Sam, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for coming down. It's a pleasure to see you, my brother.
Great to see you, dude.
Thank you very much.
See you soon, guys. Rock and roll.